Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody has found themselves safe and happy on this Sunday morning. I'm going to give it a few minutes and see how many people show up today. So, we've been streaming live now for about 20 seconds. Woo! As a matter of fact, I think I'll give it about 3 minutes and see who else shows up. So, in that case, I'm going to share my screen and start worshiping. Here we go. And if you show up and you like the song, please sing along. And I'll be right back to the chat in just a few minutes. Yeah, it's in the style, but it's still hard. Singing that high creates issues. Welcome, Happy Dinosaur. Thank you. I don't know if the folks listening or watching have noticed, but I have not put the link out there for chat because I want to get through this spiel, and then I'll throw the link out there and you guys can come join me and we'll just have fun for the rest of the time. But give me this first 20 minutes and God, I love that song. I'm so glad it's in public domain. Whew. So, give me this first 20 minutes and then I'll open it up to the chat and we can goof off and just have fun for the rest of the hour or however long it goes. So, Happy Dinosaur, happy joy day to you as well. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. Well, might as well get started. And welcome to Morning Blend, hosted by your friend, Mr. CCDV, aka the Drunken Philosopher, but I'm not going to advertise that too loudly in this case because I'm going into a spiritually themed live stream and my very first one as a layman trying to explain certain concepts of Christianity. And many of you already know that my handle for YouTube is Christian Conservative Disabled Veteran. So here we go. Let's see if I can get through this. I am going to start, of course, at the beginning. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So that, according to Dr. J. Vernon McGee, is one of the most controversial things that has ever been said in the Bible. And you know what? I believe him. He was pastor of the Los Angeles Temple for 30 years, something like that. And he is the primary beginner and expostulator of persons who do verse by verse teaching. And he begun it when he first came out of seminary, and he's been doing it ever since. So, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, that is true. Absolutely. When? That's the question I'm exploring today. Not if, but when. And I know there are a lot of people out there who are agnostic at best and atheist at their best. lot of atheists out there, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. I am a believer. I'm a faithful man, and I like it that way. So I choose to believe that God created the heavens and the earth. Now, here's where I tend to fall out with my fellow Christians is in the age of the earth. And this has been answered time and time and time and time again, over and over, throughout the centuries. And I mean, I'm talking at least 2 or 3 centuries now since the geologic age was presented as a possibility for the age of the earth. And many theologians have attempted to fill in the gap, is the best way to say it. Well, here's the thing. Genesis is unclear on the absolute 100% details of everything that happened in the first 2,000 years of history according to the Bible. So, between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2, when the earth became void, there is a gap. Now, that is one of the theories, of course. I've got several different articles pulled up, including notes from my favorite teacher, Dr. J. Vernon McGee. I won't go too deep into detail. I took notes yesterday. I did all the studying for you. So all we got to do is listen to me rant on about this for another 10 minutes, and then we can open it up for discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and start at the beginning. And again, like I said, Genesis 1:1 is possibly the most controversial statement in the Bible. Well, in the book of Job, I don't know how familiar everybody is with the Bible altogether, but Job was tested by Satan, not by God. But God said, he's my faithful servant. He's not going to fail. And Satan said, oh yeah, check this out. So he went down there and he messed with Job for a very long time. A lot of people get that wrong. A lot of people think he was tested by God. He wasn't. God had no doubt that Job would not fail. So no, that is obviously wrong. However, people are allowed to twist the Bible in any way they want to, and they tend to use Job as an example. Why did God test Job? Well, God didn't test Job. God knew the answer. He knew that Job would never fail in his faith. So when he went down to earth and Job was complaining to God, like, hey, God, check this out. I've been screwed over a lot. and God said, where were you when I laid down the foundations of the earth? Well, guess what? None of us were there. There's not a man or woman alive today who was there when God laid down the foundations of the earth. So we don't honestly know. There could have been, what is it? The current theory is 500 million years, right? Between the formation of the earth and current hominid occupation of the earth. Well, I like to think of it in epochs or in, hey, good morning, Jedi Bill. Thank you for joining me. I like to think of it in epochs or in ages, I guess is a better way of saying it. So you have the unformed earth created, but in its reducing atmosphere form. Then you have the age of new animals, new plant life, and then you have the age of, oh, you know what? I've actually got a chart. Let me share that with you. Let me scroll down to that chart real quick. Okay, if I can get rid of that. Nope, can't get rid of that advertisement. Okay. Well, you got to pick which websites you can use. Anyway, so here we go. We have the let's start with Archaeozoic. You have that's 1.8 million years ago. So that's the reducing atmosphere. And then you have primitive water and plants up to 1 million years ago, all the way through to the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, the Cenozoic, etc., etc. So humans show up in this area here, the Cenozoic, and that's what modern science shows as happening throughout the ages of the Earth. Well, thank you, Jedi Bill. I try to be Happy Dinosaur. Thank you, Happy Dinosaur. I try to be entertaining. Who knows? We'll see if we can get through this. So you have the different ages of the Earth. There's nothing saying in the Bible one way or the other whether it can or cannot be that way. I know a lot of theologians point out specific verses and they say, oh, this is in context and that is in context. And I just go, okay, but it can also be interpreted the other way. So this is really a moot point because, well, I'll get to that at the end. Wow, I told you 20 minutes and I've already eaten up 15 of it. Wow. I could go on for hours about this. The full story of creation is not told in Genesis. Whether you believe that it's one day took 1,000 years, or whether you believe that all 6 days took place in a 24-hour time period concurrently, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And Moses knew it didn't matter when he wrote it. And God knew it didn't matter when he allowed it to be published in the Bible the way Moses wrote it. Otherwise, it'd have been fixed, thousands of years ago when it was first written. So whether you believe that the earth is only 6,000 years old, or whether you believe that the earth is 1.2 billion years old, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, the entire Bible is meant to be a redemption story. It is not meant to be a scientific textbook. So, second point I would like to clarify, and since I mentioned it, it is actually germane to this discussion. Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. I'm not sure how many people are aware of that. I know a lot of people are. It's called the Pentateuch. And Moses wrote that sometime after coming down off of Mount Ararat. So in my mind's eye, when I think of it, when I think of the story of Moses writing the first 5 books of the Bible, and he spends, a handful of hours on the first few chapters of Genesis. And mind you, the first few chapters of Genesis, from Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 11, that covers a 2,000 years period of time, with the first 1,700 years covering how we got to Abraham, and then from Abraham until his children, or until the redemption of Israel from Egypt, is only 300 years. So this is, 11 chapters of the first book of the Bible take place in 2,000 years, and the remainder of the Bible takes place in 2,000 years. It's pretty nuts. It really is when you think about it in that context, where, okay, so you've got these 11 chapters to establish that the earth exists and there's a nation called Israel, and here are all these descendants, and this is how it all happened. Oh, look, here's Abraham. And then you've got 300 years till Joseph brings the Israelites into Egypt, and then a gap of about 300 years when the Israelites were in Egypt, and then they were freed by Moses. So Moses writes Genesis exactly that way. And it explains that God created, it explains that God recreated, and then it explains how we came to be in our modern society 6,000 years later. So stop freaking out about how old the earth is. That's what I'm saying. Just stop it. Stop freaking out about how old the earth is. Who cares? Our story began 6,000 years ago. That's the point. But you have dogmatic assumptions on both sides. You have scientists who say there is no God, and you have theologians who say the earth can only be 6,000 years old. Well, guess what? They're both. Let me explain it this way. Theory versus creation. Theory means an unproven hypothesis. So the hypothesis turns into a theory when you can't disprove it, but you can't prove it either. That's why it's a theory. So you accept it on what? Faith. Faith is an unproven assumption that God is correct and God exists and everything is good. So that's what we as Christians, or myself as a Christian, goes on, is faith. It's really no different from science. And as many of you in the chat know, I am a huge sci-fi geek. So the contradiction doesn't bother me one bit. Our age of human started 6,000 years ago. Whether it, well, Genesis says that God breathed life into a pile of mud and became Adam. So that may explain the fossil gap. Just saying, you could combine the two, religion and science, and it wouldn't actually hurt anything. But whatever, that's just a theory. A creation theory. So I could go into a lot more detail, but I've taken up my 20 minutes, and I promised I would only do that. So now I'm going to open it up to the chat. I'm going to throw the link in there. If nobody shows up, I'll keep talking about this. Otherwise, we can go on and talk about fun, nerdy stuff. Anyone want to join me on the panel? I told you it would only take 20 minutes. And you can make suggestions of what you want to hear if Jedi Bill allows me to do this again next weekend. It appears I have fewer viewers than anyone else on the planet right now. I believe it's just you and me, Happy Dinosaur. Wow. It is amazing how long it takes to prepare, and then you're done in 20 minutes. It's absolutely shocking. I've still got tons of notes. Wow. That's kind of neat, actually. Well, I'll put the notes away. We're done talking about religion for today. Well, No, we're not. I mean, you can ask any question. If I can't answer it, I'll just say, I don't know. Because I am not afraid of that answer. I don't know. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. Although apparently, pastors, priests, religious gurus, and things like that are all supposed to have every single answer that you could possibly think of to ask a question for, but I'm a layman, so I don't have those answers. But what answers I do have, I can give. Or we can change the subject to weird science fiction-y stuff. Welcome, Happy Dinosaur.
Happy Mr. CCDV.
How are you doing today on the
Ah,
Good morning?
it's a nice happy morning. Ernie, how are you doing your nice holy morning? Did you go to church today or?
Oh no, this is my church now.
Ah,
Yeah, I
well,
don't.
I'll be finished.
I don't want to drive 30 miles to a church that's less dogmatic than the ones that are in my small town. So,
Well, the dinosaur way of church us is just helping out other people along with ourselves.
oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. As long as you're not eating them, mind you.
Well, no, not every person. It varies on what we do.
I don't understand the concept of Christians rejecting people. I really don't. I mean, I get irritated by people, but I don't reject them. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing as Christians. So,
I guess it's like
wow, that was a very intelligible statement for a dinosaur. I'm sure I could
no, sorry, no,
interpret it
I'm saying I
someday.
wait. I'm sorry, speech impediment. I said I wait for you to finish.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I keep
okay.
interrupting you.
Well, no, I'm done now. We Christians should not reject people. Go ahead.
Well, essentially, one thing I never really met many nice Christians. Most of them just kind of, and I've met have just kind of used the religion to justify being a jerk.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot actually over 40 years. So I strive not to be one of those people. I can separate my faith from my life, which you know, it's human personality really is what it boils down to. If you cannot separate your faith from your life, meaning you cannot live a life of kindness without being dogmatic. I think the Apostle Paul said it best when he said, um, if you go to someone's house for dinner, and I'm paraphrasing, don't even ask me which book this comes out of. My memory sucks. So, but he said, if you go to someone's house for dinner, don't ask if the meat was sacrificed to false gods. Just don't ask. And the concept behind that, of course, is, you know, if the meat was sacrificed to false gods and you feel guilty about eating it, therefore, then you shouldn't have gone to that person's house for dinner in the first place. If they say this meat was sacrificed to Baal or, you know, Aphrodite or whatever, then you can say, well, I appreciate that, but I don't believe in that God, but that roast really smells good.
Like
But
for
don't.
me, for me, like I just kind of don't really try to force my way is upon people. Like I'm actually a conservative, yet I'm friends with a communist and a leftist. If this, I kind of view religion the same way as politics, where it's like you got to agree to disagree sometimes.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things is creation. A lot of Christians split on that, which is just nuts.
I
Um,
always thought evolution and creation can go hand in hand. Like it's more a matter of perspective, where it's like you don't really start off with a fully built Lego set. You gotta build that thing over time.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, there's no reason to disclaim evolution, other than,
I'm not
Christians
saying
don't wanna.
I'm not saying God didn't assist with building the Lego set. I'm saying, not everything starts out the way we all love it to be.
Yeah, yeah. The argument I get a lot from the 6,000-year-old Earthers. I can't believe I just made up a name for them. They were
It's
my
more.
peers for 40 years. The problem is that they cite verses where nothing died before the fall of Adam and Eve. And I go, come on, really? Leaves died on the trees. They weren't perpetual. Things died, of course. Creation, recreation. That's the whole point in Genesis. But even when I was a teenager, I didn't really believe that the Earth was only 6,000 years old. But that's a personal belief that I hold as a Christian, because that has no effect whatsoever on the salvation story throughout the rest of the Bible. But it has become such a big issue in the Christian community. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead air. Yay.
Did I miss something?
I think we just kind of stopped talking for a few seconds.
Oh, yeah, dead air. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
No, I was catching my breath and smoking my cigarette.
That thing seemed contradictory, but okay.
Smoke another one. That's what I say.
Well, smoke them cigarettes.
And of course, drinking my coffee, which in my case is wine.
The only wine I drink is cheer wine. I don't drink alcohol.
Well, that's cool. Oh, there's no reason to if you don't have to. I drink alcohol for pain relief. I know that seems like an excuse, but
no, it's all right. You don't need an excuse to drink, as long as you're not an alcoholic.
that's what I worry about actually constantly. So I stopped drinking every couple of months for a week or so, just to see if the tremors are from alcohol or from my disease. Turns out the tremors are from my disease, so I go back to drinking.
Nothing wrong with drinking as long as you got moderation.
Oh, well, I think I do. Although I have gone over the edge a few times, learning how to drink in moderation. It's a tricky concept.
Well, my dad was like, his mom gave him a beer, and she's like, I don't want you to drink every day. Yeah, I know you're gonna drink anyway, but I just want you to practice moderation.
Yeah, it's a good practice to get into. I mean, Europeans have been feeding their kids alcohol from the dinner table for years and years and years.
And it's funny, and he's one of the only, my dad's one of the only people in our family who does not drink anymore.
Well, I have an uncle who is an alcoholic, and he don't drink no more either. He hasn't drank in 30 years. I'm really impressed. The funny thing is he's the president of the VFW in his little small town. And so he's there every night, and you got drunkards all around you, and he's just sitting there drinking coffee going,
At least he can drive someone home.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, Jedi Bill gave me this opportunity, and I think I spiked at 4 whole viewers today. Well, it's going live on my website, so who cares?
I'm pretty happy. I got 6 viewers on my Superman and Doomsday review.
I have not seen that one yet.
It's one of them DC animated films. I don't blame you. It's pretty good.
I've seen the film. Nerd talk. There's so much nerd stuff. How could any one person keep up with it all?
Well, it's kind of hard to figure out. Like I keep hearing things about that Flashpoint movie to the point where it's starting to sound like a prank to me.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, maybe they'll do a Flashpoint movie. It really would be nice if they did, because then they could retcon, Justice League.
Well, you don't have to retcon. You just remake the DCU a few years later with a brand new director and creative teams.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like they used to.
all right. I guess it wouldn't be a retcon then, but
but they get their own continuity. You get your own continuity, not attached to that old continuity. Then, so it's a new version.
I'd go with that. I would go with that.
Yeah.
I love Superman. I love Batman. I love Wonder Woman and the Flash and Aquaman and everything else. Green Lantern, especially. I mean, come on. Admittedly, Green Lantern has been kind of feeble in every cartoon and movie I've ever seen him in, because apparently his imagination isn't that good.
Well, it depends on the lantern and the willpower. You see, Hal Jordan isn't really that creative. He more just mainly looks for tools to fix the problem.
Yeah, and I really think that a Green Lantern with that kind of power should be able to come up with more than,
I'm a big comic fan, and I can actually assure you there actually is a lot more creative lanterns than him that do use more creative methods.
Okay. I'm most familiar with Hal Jordan,
Well, he is the classic. When everyone knows from the comics, he's one of the most popular. My favorite one is Guy Gardner, mainly because he's a wise ass.
That's actually a good choice. He was in one of the cartoon movies, wasn't he?
He was in one of he was in the cartoon show Batman Brave and the Bold.
Right. Okay.
Where like they had him be a janitor under to some extent, where it's like you've destroyed this entire building. Here's a broom, clean it up.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I was like, who? Because again, not a comic book guy personally.
You can't and not be one of them. You're free to use what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm more of a novel type sci-fi guy. So
yeah, understandable. We all have our passions.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, when we get into conversations about comic books on the other channels, I'm like, I'll just stay quiet for a little while.
I always stay quiet about the CW, mainly because I hate it.
Shall we talk about the crossover this year?
Oh, they had a crossover?
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, yeah, that thing. What do you want to talk about first? The Batman?
There's only 2 shows on the three shows on the CW that I still like to watch, and one of them is going downhill real fast. But I like The Flash. I like DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and I like Supernatural. DC's Legends of Tomorrow is going downhill real fast, but it still can't be fun to watch.
I like bad things too. I like the Sci-Fi Channel TV movies like Sharknado, and Sharktopus.
Yeah, fair enough. I do like to watch those. They're really stupid, campy fun.
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced that the first Sharknado was intended to be a campy, fun movie. They say it was intended that way, but I'm not sure I believe them. I think they set out to make a serious film.
Well, they tried to make a serious film on the budget of a $5 foot long.
But it turned out so bad it was good.
Oh yeah, like one thing I was thinking about The Room with Tommy Wiseau is you cannot make a sequel to that because he'd be in on the joke then.
Oh yeah, I know, right? That's a once in a lifetime thing. He cannot do The Room over again.
Especially because he blew his brains out in that movie.
Well, he didn't actually do it.
And I know. I'm talking
Right,
about
but
the character.
yeah.
You can't play the same character unless he's got like a twin in that movie's universe.
Which would kind of ruin the fun of the whole movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure the movie wasn't intended to be fun. Have you seen The Disaster Artist? It's a
I want to. I haven't gotten to that yet.
it's actually I really like it. They go into the depths of the relationship between Greg and Tommy. And it really is. It's weird. The guy is weird. That's all it is.
I heard he has a YouTube channel.
Really?
I heard, yeah, like I had a classmate in school show me a YouTube channel.
Well, I never looked it up, but it wouldn't surprise me. Well, that's 40 minutes, and it's just you and I, buddy.
Yep.
I think we should probably call it and go see how DJ is doing. What do you think?
Let's check up on DJ.
All right.
Hopefully he's still alive.
Thanks for listening to me rant on about the Bible for a little while.
Yeah, that's all right. You're interesting. Have a happy day. Goodbye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.